Okay. So the oh the so here's a life spectrum. It's over here. They both are, but it's kind of like the thing from Pac-Man. No, I'm just playing. The jellyfish that have like that LED type of like light rippling phenomenon. If you've ever seen them, and it's like just Christmas lights. The lights are going and going and going. It's real trippy. So the idea is the basic, easiest way to say it or see it is all your events, actions, decisions get compressed or condensed down into one complete thing. But it's not a thing. It's just it's a mind or a soul. And so in higher space, or at least what it is, what space is, that, you know, because our brains break it down into space, kind of like a program. But what it would be if we were seeing it as it is and not confined by the brain, which is actually in time, is basically like one of those where every event and every decision and every action played over and over and over, just like a bulb or LED bulb, anything, is a light wave spectrum, and you're just flashing. You're flashing your colors multiple times a second or moment, or it's according to like a universal scale. And so what you feel, say there's a degree of sadness, elation, and so on. Really not even elation, but joy, and so on. And then everybody has this spectrum. So now somebody has 50 moments like that in a day, and somebody has, 1,000 moments of joy because they're insane. And the point is, everyone has this spectrum on the other side, but not everyone programs it the same. Some people are like kind of all over the place. And so that's what I'm saying, is that when your life is kind of like, it maps out in a way that when you add up all the totals, you get a perfect spectrum where it's just, because you need some of the sadness and this and the other, but you want it all organized, all lean towards, all add up to completion. And so, and that can sometimes be flipped around, the geometry, depending on how you look at it, just like negative and positive and high and low in vibration or density, because it's kind of flip-flop with our senses. But I won't go into that. And so ultimately, it's going to condense down to amount of self-respect, an amount of joy, an amount of what counts. So joy, and then your ability to resist sadness or evil, basically, which is, they're not the same, but they're both required. Because, well, if you can resist all the evil, but you can't have joy, well, you might as well join them. And if you can have all the joy in the world, but you can't resist, then you might as well stay home. And so, and that's obviously a good point, that we do want to stay home, but not because you go outside and there's like troglodytes eating people, just because you're studying and stuff. So if it is troglodytes eating people, we shouldn't just be like, oh well, we should just stay home and be good little boys and girls so they can eat people, because that's some raunchy ass shit, if you ask me. And so then, now here's the idea. Oh, and it doubles itself. So instead of all that, the Most High will elaborate through the works. And so, you're doing this with the flashing up and down. You get it like that's kind of like that. And then, it's so weird. Where you are in the 20,000 leagues is where you are in your body by the high or the genitals and anus, or halfway, or in the knowledge of the center, which everything couples through, and then you get the complete two worlds. Battery's gonna run out. The idea is, like I was saying over there, or I was going to, it's exponential time we're dealing with, which is mitigated through the ones who made the system as emotion and cleanliness through emotions and mind. and time through that. And so when we come to full self-awareness, we push away fear, weakness, ignorance by learning to use it, by cycling it up so that, like I said, in the dark, there's so much of that cycling, it creates a density barrier vacuum variation between you and the dark, and that pushes you up like a pedestal. And so then when your potential goes higher, your self-esteem, which is, you're either feeling low potential or feeling high potential, you're making a life blueprint with that. And it's either, that's that, how many moments in a day you have that, or how many moments you have that. And it's going to be a whole thing in the end. Or at least it already is. When you see it, the end is when you figure it out, because nobody leaves until then. It's a big joke. There's also one way to pass the time, or be tortured endlessly. So, but that's only because people got a hold of the system that we're not supposed to. Murder's not supposed to, you're not supposed to do that. We don't, unless you want fangs and hair all over your body. It doesn't work that way. And so then the idea is that we think it's the energy within the body and the mind. When you're down here, you're getting a partial spectrum of everything, of your spine. And when you go up here to a wholeness of self-knowledge by, like I said, you're not getting your mind. You're not getting your body. You're not getting jellyfish. You're going from down where there's a bunch of stuff that's phantom up 20,000 leagues to the surface of the ocean. And when we're doing this, we're in the past, the previous age. It's all mapped out with supercomputers and this, that, and the other. Somehow the system's freaked, but it's how it works normally. It's just being used against us. When you do this weird stuff, not weird ascension, this, that, the other, when you accept it and your energy goes up, you're actually waking up in the future. I don't know how to describe it, but we're in the future. They knocked us all out with technology. When you're doing that, you're coming back into your body and waking up, and we're in a phantom matrix. But as well, that's just how systems work, because we're jellyfish of time. And when you light up your lights, you're going and going up to the present, and that's how we've always been and always gotten around. But the point is, when you're up here, you have this much access of your spine, and that much in between. When you're down here, you have this much access. When you're up here, you're actually covering the wholeness of time. Wholeness of time and the wholeness of spine, the wholeness of mind, the wholeness of universe is the same thing. Okay, thank you. Happy jellyfish.